The problem that every technical program manager faces today is the first thing is they can't find top technical talent. Talent density has been a problem in this space for decades, since the dot-coms really. And since COVID and the Great Resignation, it's 10 times worse. What you really need is a firm with a huge network, a large network of that talent. HR managers, technical managers, even internal recruiters are not going to have a network like a good talent staffing firm. For instance, my firm has been building that talent pool for decades, and we have a strong network with strong relationships and can find the people you're looking for. The second big problem with technical program managers face today in finding talent is they can't afford the top talent. Most of the top talent has gone, especially since the Great Resignation, into more of a gig worker space where they have their own LLCs, etc. If you do get a W-2, they're going to want exorbitant amounts of salary and stock options or stock. It's really just a classic supply and demand problem. So many times it's actually better to hire a high-level contractor, one of these guys who has an LLC. It might be more per hour, but they usually come in as material, and you're not stuck with that highly paid burdened FTE when the project is ultimately finished. Another problem facing technical program managers is you can't retain the top technical talent. Again, it's a supply and demand thing. Most of this talent can literally pick the projects they want to work on, pick the type of work locations, e.g., like, for example, remote work. That some of these guys are literally working on projects docked on their sailboat in a slip somewhere. So to find these people, again, you need a firm that knows where all these people are. Then you need to entice them and be able to hold on to them. That might be being flexible with remote work or flexible hours. A big one that people miss a lot is autonomy. These tech workers don't want to be micromanaged. They want to solve your problem, be set loose on your problem, set and forget, and solve it for you. Program manager who doesn't hire the right talent is going to be their life will be miserable because their project's going to be behind. They're going to have poor results or no results, and they're going to end up usually with a large amount of technical debt when they tried to force that project through people who are not skilled enough to get it done. The talent and skills, the background of the resource has to match directly with the project. Unfortunately, many internal resources that your HR or your department heads would want to promote within are not going to be talented enough. The only thing many of them have going for them is they've been there for a long time. You really need to go out and find the exact match with the exact skills for your project. And again, most HR departments and program managers and department heads and hiring managers don't have access to that talent. So finding the right firm that can match you up with that talent that matches the exact skill set needed for your project is absolutely crucial. Another thing that makes a technical program manager's life miserable is they're not going to be able to, without the right talent and the right matching, you can't deliver to schedule or cost. It seems obvious, but many times using the improperly matched talent or internal talent, you end up on a death march of a project, which does a couple things. One, you're going to have poor quality. You're going to have exorbitant development durations. It's going to take forever, which is going to burn out your internal resources. And your costs are actually going to be higher than if you found a technical resource that was an exact match. Even if their hourly wage seemed high to you at the time, it's going, I call it, you pay a little more to go faster. And in the long run, though it looks like a higher dollar amount, the quality, the results, and the duration are all going to be more beneficial from that high resource. Another reason not hiring the correct talent makes a program manager's life miserable is literally overworking their existing talent. Uh, Most internal development projects have talent, I call talent bright spots. So you have some superstars that are incumbent W-2 employees that work for you. And many times, if you mismatch your talent, they end up taking the burden for the extra bodies you put in there that aren't a good match. So they're literally picking up slack for the improperly matched talent. In most cases, you're better off contracting talent and preferably talent that's more skilled than even your bright spot superstar. That will raise the bar of the team, the entire team, and lighten their workload versus just bringing people up from internal departments or mismatched body shop type talent that you're just throwing bodies at it. That really overworks them. And if you can raise the bar with people who are better than them or even have some skills they don't, usually you end up bringing the workload down and just having a better overall project. Another reason why not hiring the properly matched talent makes a program manager's life miserable is, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of burden on the existing staff, and also the durations go longer. It becomes a death march, and you end up violating basic software development rules. You end up just innately pulling the checks and balances out of the software development process. So if you're not using the proper contractors, you're either understaffed or misstaffed. And that's going to lead you to take, in a nutshell, lead you to take shortcuts, which most of the time, in my experience, what I've seen are improper version control, limited or no SQA, poor bug tracking, ungated software releases, which ultimately leads to terrible quality and large amounts of technical debt that are going to come back and sting you for years to come. There are many myths around technical staffing, and one of the big myths is that all technical staffing involves these body shopping type big players. Big players like Deloitte, for instance, or Hitachi Consulting. They pretty much have they have a pit with a salesperson who throws you resumes from the recruiters in the pit without really vetting them, without knowing if they're a good match. Just, hey, I need a Java developer. They're going to start throwing you Java developers, regardless of if they're a good match or a good skill set for you, causing you to absorb all the risk. A smaller, more agile concierge firm like mine, for instance, we're experts in what you do, software development. So we build bespoke teams. We build teams as if that was our project, because we know how to do that, because we have projects just like yours. So we know what it takes to build a software development team or a technical team or a network security team, because that's what we do. And not using the big guys or the body shops, there's a lot of concierge firms like mine out there where we can literally make the perfect match for you. And that's key to having all of this come together and your project be a success. Another myth about technical staffing is using a contract staffing firm is just going to inundate you with tons of resumes, unmatched candidates, and actually make more work in reading and trying to figure out who you want to interview than actually working on your project. A really good concierge contracting, I want to say partner, not even a firm, builds a team with you and would vet those candidates as if they were hiring them. That would involve code and problem solving, testing, interviewing you about your culture and trying to make sure we have a very good cultural match, knowing what type of talent you have in-house right now, the personalities of them, and possibly even talking to them to figure out what type of team member they would want on their team. Basically building that team as if we were building for ourselves, but within your organization. Another myth about technical staffing is no ongoing support. They throw the body over the fence. If they don't work out, they'll give you a guarantee of another within 90 days. Most of the larger firms will give you a guarantee that they'll find you another one, but there's no refund. There's no makeup for your lost work or the bad resource they gave you. Just the opportunity for them to give you another. They usually make you sign a one-sided contract that favors them and makes you take all the risk. They'll throw hundreds of bad candidates over the fence and resumes over the fence. Your only point of contact usually in the bigger firms is like an aggressive commission salesperson, not necessarily somebody who has your project's best interest in mind. My recommendation is again, pick a smaller concierge type firm, preferably, and the reason I use the word concierge is a firm that limits their client base to a size that's conducive to serving you. They're not going to take on 10,000 clients for some bottom line number somewhere. They're actually focused on serving you and being your concierge. I mean, basically, if you don't have the cell phone number of senior management of the firm you're using, the firm's too big. What is a hybrid staffing model and how does it solve your problem? Many program managers and HR departments, they think of staffing your project as black or white. It's either internal W-2 FTEs or farm it out offshore and have it done outside. There's actually a better solution. The better solution is using a mix of your bright spot FTEs, W-2 employees, combined with some really, really technically skilled contractors that are maybe even a little more skilled than your internal FTEs, which raises the bar completely on your project and the skill level. And there's cross training. You bring these shooters in, they're going to elevate your team's actual knowledge. And all the best practices that these shooters know from all the other places where they've come from doing these technical projects can be transferred to your project. So the hybrid staffing model can actually elevate you within your industry and the way you execute your projects. Many people say cost is a problem with the hybrid staffing model. Contractors, they can be expensive, especially in this environment right now. They can name their price, pick their projects, pick their location, pick if they're remote. But when you really add it all up, having a highly paid contractor in many ways can be more cost effective than an FTE. And that's one of these sort of myths out there, is that it's going to be exorbitantly expensive. If you really add up the burden of an FTE, federal taxes, workers' comp, 401k matching, health insurance, severance is a liability when the project's over, disability, all these things that can happen with an FTE add up to, at the very least, a lot of risk, but in many cases, more cost. The beauty with a highly skilled contractors augmenting your team in that hybrid fashion is when the project's over in 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, whatever it is, they're gone. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. And you've also made a connection with them if you ever need to augment again. So in many ways, it's more cost effective. Now, that said, you have to be careful of who you can outsource in a hybrid staffing model. The SMEs who are experts in the technology utilized in your project, that's who you want to outsource. For instance, if you were building a computer chip, you'd probably want someone who's an expert in computer chip design and tape out, maybe someone that used to work at Intel or something like that. That's somebody worth bringing in on a project like that. But there are people you should never outsource. And those are the core subject matter experts that are dedicated to your company. They're W-2 employees. They have all the domain knowledge within your company, who's who, work styles, and the knowledge of what your space, your technical space and your market share and all of that. For a hybrid team to work, you need to marry that core SME incumbent W-2 FTE, or FTEs, I should say, and then augment them with the skills that are maybe lacking or you need more of in your company. And that's the people who you bring in as contractors. One, is your technical staffing partner capable of extreme vetting of the candidates? We hire and interview as if we're hiring for our own development project. In many cases, we test them technically. We give them logistics problems, problems within their expertise. If they were a .NET developer, Java developer, Python developer, we're going to give them tests relevant to see how their skills are before we even pass the resume on to you, let alone let them interview with you. Two, does your technical staffing partner have the burden of a large, expensive bench that they're going to pass on to you? A firm like mine, a concierge small firm, we don't have the burden of a large, expensive bench. As a matter of fact, we practice Edwards Deming's just-in-time inventory, basically from a staffing model, where we're going to match you up using our extremely large network we've been building over decades with the exact resource. And the reason that's important is without a bench, we don't have that giant sucking sound of these salaries of these high-paid contractors, affecting our bottom line and us having to raise our margins to you. Many of the larger firms, unlike us, put very green, inexpensive people on their bench, but charge you as if they were highly technical experts in the field. We don't do that. We match you up with the expert in the field, with the subject matter expert in your space. 3, does your technical staffing partner make your project deadline their priority? We are completely vested in getting your project done on time. In some cases, if needed, we could even come in and run the project for you. If you've already got that handled, we're gonna augment your staff with experts that have the goal of getting your project done. Many of the larger firms, for lack of a better term, Johnny pile onto your project and start convincing you and other managers that you need more project managers, you need more planning, you need more of this, you need more of that. They're basically milking the job. And if you start to see that, they're going for billable hours and they want your project to get postponed. They want you to refactor your project. It's a dirty little secret in the bigger firms, and they're really good at hiding it. But my firm comes in and takes pride in getting your project done on time. The larger firms may or may not, and they may actually try to prolong your project to get more billable hours. 4, is your technical staffing partner an expert in your area of expertise or your space? I am a concierge provider. I do not try to staff people outside of our technical expertise. It's very important that you pick a firm that's in your space. If I'm not in your space, I may refer you to a firm like mine that is in your space, but I'm not going to attempt outside of my wheelhouse to put the wrong people or try to find you people that I don't know how to vet properly. And that's something to really look out for, and look for a firm that's honest like mine and would pass you on. And I have connections with many concierge firms structured like mine, but with different areas of expertise, whether it's cybersecurity or something really intense like that. I know all those firms and could turn you on to them. 5, does your technical staffing partner complete all the hiring / onboarding work for you, or dump and run? So when we find somebody for you, we can go as far as you want in onboarding them. We never dump and run. Many firms are going to throw you the resume or throw you the resource, and that's the end of it. We're here for the long run. In many of my clients, I actually do the onboarding, the background check, and all of that for them before the candidate's even allowed on site. And we can do as much of that or as little of that as you want, and plug into your HR and make sure we follow all your policies, et cetera. Many firms don't do that. It's important to find one that does, because when you do find the right candidate, you want them on board properly and hit the ground running, set and forget. 6, does your technical staffing partner have extremely high overhead that they pass on to you? A firm like mine doesn't have big glass offices all over the world in big cities. We don't fly around in private jets. If you call us, you will be able to talk to me, the owner, the CEO. It's important to find a firm like that, and that low overhead passes on to you by getting you the highest skilled technical resource at the best rate versus some of the larger firms that may 50% to them is a loss, 50% markup, whereas I don't need anywhere near that for the same resource. And my work environment being smaller and more boutique allows those resources to want to come back and work for me and be placed by me versus the cold-hearted larger agencies. And 7, does your technical staffing partner give you easy access to their senior management? I mentioned this a little before. Do you have easy access to senior management in the firm? My firm, you do. You can talk to my head of recruiting or me. You'll have our cell phone numbers. If there's a problem with a resource or something's going great or you want another one, you call us. We're on it directly and using all of our skills and quality and network for you. If you don't have senior management cell phones, that firm's too big for you and you're not going to get your project done.